Hi, ladies. How you doing?
Good. How about you?
Good. I kind of did something. I've been doing lives, and I totally messed up my last one, and that's okay because I've learned that sometimes mistakes happen, and that's okay. You can just let it go. So I was doing the live and I couldn't shut off the live on Instagram. I for whatever reason, some stupid thing that never has happened before and probably never will happen again. In the past, I would have totally freaked out. I would have been very embarrassed and I would have let that sit on me for, oh, I don't know, days. That how embarrassing. I do tech and I can't shut off my Instagram live. But instead, because I'm growing up now and allowing myself to, have mistakes, I embraced it and went, yeah, that's what happens. Sometimes mistakes happen, or sometimes crap happens on a live. And I shared it as a story and kind of like, hey, ha ha ha, has this ever happened to you? And the moral of my story is that I've learned to allow those mistakes not to wrap around my brain and really affect me for days on end, where in the past I would have been very upset that I didn't do something perfect and that someone noticed that. So what about you? Anybody? Ever happen?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's funny that you brought up, yeah, you did a live. Um, I also did a live, and when I went back to view parts of it, I almost pulled it down and got rid of it because my mistake was I was doing it while I was walking. So it was in a kind of a walk mode, shake mode a little bit. And I'm like, oh, this looks ridiculous. What a mistake I made doing this live while walking. I'm just going to destroy it because it's a mistake. Instead, I'm like, no, I'm not going to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a mistake. I had something I needed to discuss. It was important. It was the right setting for it. And I was walking. So, of course, the camera's going to shake. So, it's me being authentic to
Mm-hmm.
who I am. So, I think people forget that there is no perfection anywhere. There's very few perfections. I think what's the perfection is a no hitter in baseball, um, 300 score in bowling. Those are perfections, but that's a one offs that
Mm-hmm.
happen. That's not something that happens in a consistent daily every time a pitcher goes up. So I rather embrace mistakes and be vulnerable and be myself and kind of maybe laugh at my mistakes. Like
Mm-hmm.
you didn't laugh at your mistake, Tracy G, but you brought it to light. Like, I know I did this.
Mm-hmm.
Look at, I can't
Yeah.
even, I'm in IT and I can't even shut off a button.
Yeah. Oops.
Yep.
Do you
Tracy?
think do you think it matters the type of mistake that is made in terms of being able to process it? Like the mistake that both of you are talking about here are you were with self. It wasn't, there was nobody else involved in that. Do you think it's different if there is a perceived mistake made and somebody else is involved with that mistake? Like potentially hurting somebody's feelings, or you know your actions have created an outcome that is not favorable.
Oh, for sure. That would be different. Then like I would definitely, depending on what that mistake was and if I corrected it. But I would probably still hold on to it for a little longer than maybe I need to. But for me, that was a big thing because I didn't beat myself up over something that was so small, meant nothing to anyone else, and didn't make it bigger than it should have been. You screwed up. It was on a live. Who cares? Moving on. If I am hurting someone, that's
Right.
a whole different story.
And Tracy E, to your point, I think in my feelings, and let's be honest, I've hurt somebody's feelings. You don't, not intentionally meaning to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think for myself, when I realized that I did it, it was the action that I took right after that. So to be able to clear the air, to apologize, to make sure that there is a communication with that person.
Right.
And then I learned from that interaction or from that mistake that I've made, and to not be able to repeat that type of performance with somebody, or to understand what my action led to.
Do you ruminate about it though? Do you ruminate about what it is that happened? Because I mean, sometimes we're in scenarios whereby we make a mistake. I hate that word, but we do something and we don't even realize that we have hurt somebody's feelings or that we've affected them in any way, because we don't get that immediate feedback, right? It's
Right.
something that down the line somebody, all of a sudden you realize that something seems a bit different in your relationship or whatever, and you're like, what's happening here, right?
Right.
Do you ruminate about what that thing was that happened, even if you cleared the air with somebody?
I used to in the past. I used to hold on to that negative. I'm a bad person. Look at what I did. I hurt that person. If we now, my goal is to have an open and honest conversation with that person and to understand how I hurt that person, and to make sure that the conversation is that I'm hearing what that person has saying to me, because what I might not think is hurting a feeling to them can be hurtful.
Right.
Or was I hurt by something they said and I just retaliating and they didn't even know they hurt me,
Right.
and that
Right.
type of stuff. Then my goal is to build off of that conversation, learn from it, from myself, because we're always learning what our words and actions do to other people. And if that person cannot forgive me, or we cannot come to a consensus, I do feel bad about it. And I might journal it out, that pen to paper, so I don't have that constant hamster wheel in my head
Right.
going with it.
Right.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Because it's like what Tony Robbins says: the quality of your communication is the response you get.
Mhm.
So a lot of times we don't necessarily know what it is that, how we are impacting other people. It's easy when it's just us, right? When it's just working with ourselves, like in your live of walking and, not being able to turn the tech off, or me not being able to even get the tech going. It's easy to it's easy to go, wow, but I think it's also easier to process that type of mistake or event. Let's just call it an event.
Yeah, call it an
Than
event.
it is
Yeah.
when we've got other things, when we have other people that are involved in the events of something else, right? Like, it could be a business thing, it could be a mistake in or an event about, charging somebody and somebody thought they were being charged something different, and like all of those kinds of things, right? It's like, so how, like, do we ruminate about those when somebody else is involved, or how do we give ourselves that grace to just say, okay, if this is what happened,
Mhm.
I'm learning from this, but that extra step of not sitting there thinking about it over and over again to get off that hamster wheel, like you said. Because I think I think people struggle with that,
Mhm.
to actually let that event be what it is, process it, and then just say, okay, I'm like, that is now done. I'm moving on to something new, instead of it coming back, every once in a while and ruminating about.
I think that's the secret too, is if you process it, you've done it. You've done the work towards that event. Now let it go. You've done the work. You've processed it. You've figured out where maybe something on your behavior should have changed, and then move on. And that moving on, that little piece right there is so huge. I have something that I have from years ago that still pops up, and I'm like, get down there. I don't want to see that. And I obviously haven't processed it properly. And it was something really silly, but it still likes to pop its little head up there once in a while and go, remember when you did that, Tracy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Those are the ones that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
ones that pop up and just, come out of nowhere. You're sitting there looking at, beautiful sunset, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, you want to remember this? It's like, no, actually, I don't. I don't want to remember this.
Yeah. I love when those things pop into your brain. And I actually have a conversation with myself like, no, you're not allowed in. Sorry, I'm a different person from that. I've, made my peace with it. I've made my peace with that person. If that person didn't accept my apology, I've made my peace, and I've not repeated that, whatever it was. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I try not to let it back come in. I want to go back to that sunset. Get the hell out of my brain. Like, move it. Go. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
That's interesting too, because again, we can't control other people. So you've done everything you can.
Yeah.
They're choosing sometimes maybe not to accept the apology, or to not let go of the event. And that's on them. And you have to allow yourself to go, that's on them. I've done everything I possibly can. And if they want to hold on to this for as long as they want, that's no longer my burden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which means
Excellent
that you
point.
have to get out of a people pleasing mode, right?
What?
Because
No.
yeah,
No, don't say that.
That's a whole nother episode.
That's
true
a good
story.
one.
True
That's a
story.
good one.
Yeah.
But that's true, Tracy.
Yeah, because I mean that's you try. It's hard to do that. It's hard to go, okay, well, this is on you now. Like, I've done everything I possibly can. You have not communicated to me any other expectations, right? Because that's what the bigger problem is the fact that nobody communicates their expectations to other people. It's like, well, you made a mistake, or this happened, and this is what I was expecting as a result of that. Like, if you said that, then I can actually respond and decide whether or not I'm capable of giving you what you expect. And do I even want to give you what you expect, or what, right? But we don't do that level of communication with people. Which,
No, because we expect people to figure it out too. You should know what I want. You should know how to make it up to me.
But really, how crazy is that, right? How crazy is that?
We don't, I mean, it's like we're supposed to have these mind reading abilities.
Yeah.
If you knew me, you would know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, that's a good one, eh?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going down a whole nother path.
Yeah.
Those are like 4 more episodes we can hear.
Oh my God, that's such a classic though. That is such a classic.
It is. But it's, Tracy G, you bring up a really good point. We also have to learn to release it and let it go. Like, it's on that other person. And I've had that before, where people come up and say, oh, so-and-so's really, they're really upset. And I said, I know, I had a conversation with them. I apologize. And they're like, oh, they didn't tell me that. No, they just want to be the victim. They're like, oh, Michelle is mean to me. Bah, 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 bah.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh. And then I should have known better. I should have known better, because you're the type of person that would, if knew I hurt somebody or somebody, whatever, I would own up to it. you know,
Right.
but mistakes there are, like you said, Tracy, there's levels of mistakes. There's the mistakes that Tracy G and I made, like we put something up on our social media platform and there was a mistake in it. And there is that form of that limiting belief that we have to be perfect in everything that we post. We can't show that we're human and authentic. And this is who we are. We make mistakes. So we're like putting ourselves higher up than everybody else because we all make mistakes. And then
It's
there's
like when I sent out my email to my podcast people to say, listen to this podcast, it was totally the wrong podcast.
Right. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's fine, because I don't think someone's going to stop listening to your podcast because Tracy doesn't know what she did. She sent out an email with the wrong podcast. I can't listen to her
Yeah.
again. She is not perfect. Nope, I'm not listening to her no more.
Yeah. Isn't that funny, eh?
I know. And again, it's a limiting belief that we put on ourselves. It's a little bit of an imposter syndrome. 2 past episodes of I have to be perfect. I am on a social platform promoting our expertise, and I made a mistake. We're not an expert. Nope, we're not an expert. That's it. Well, we are. Yes, we are. We know exactly. We're human.
Stuff happens.
Yes. Yeah. So, levels of mistakes.
Yeah. Allow yourself to, again, let it go. Allow yourself just to, not think of all the energy you're putting into that. Like it just, it's too much. It's
Yeah.
too much.
But own up to the mistake. It's okay to own up to a mistake. Do what you need to for the level of the mistake. So, it's Tracy and I, we just like, look at my walking. I'm shaking while I'm walking.
Yeah. Put it in
I can't,
perspective, right?
and Tracy, you brought up an excellent point about something that's can be very traumatic to somebody else. Then how do you fix that mistake? You might be able to, and you might not, but it's making the attempt to own up to the mistake. Anything else on mistakes?
Here's to the next one.
And you know what? I'm sure I'll have one probably within the next couple hours. And okay, I learned to embrace my mistakes now, because to me, I'm learning. I'm learning. That's all I'm learning. Whether it's big or small, I learn from it. So tell us something in the comments you've learned from a mistake. Or is there a mistake that you have made and you just don't know how to approach the person or how to fix the mistake? Put it in the comments and we'll see if we can help you. We can talk through that. Make sure you subscribe. Get your notifications. Every Wednesday, there's a new episode. And until our next episode, have a great day.
Bye, ladies.
Thanks for watching, and we hope to see you as a regular member of our community.